So,
Okay, tell us about the process and the last many months.
well, hold on. We've got Miss Ivan, who's been actually basically coordinating a lot of the work. And really it's a project of, I think in any organisation you need to stop, think and assess where you're going. And what we have been doing over the not last couple of months, because you usually see a time frame and you usually only see 2 months. The thinking that goes before that, which requires a couple of years, you don't really see, because it's a lot of ideas that are floating around. But essentially what we've been doing for the last 20 years is fixing up tools and sending them out to projects in Africa, which in itself is quite good. For the last several years we've been looking at taking the next step, which is to enhance that activity or enhance that process by what would I say, by adding value to the process. And by adding value means you give people more resources to make use of the tools. And people think of resources as money, or it's not. It's about increasing their capacity, their training, their understanding, their access to markets, things that we can't do from here. So how do we do it? And that's really where you start. You want to go somewhere, but you don't know how to get there. So you've actually got to work out a path or a route that you can take. And sometimes it's not that easy, because your path or route isn't just what you do, it's dependent on lots of other people around you. And critical in this is our partner in Tanzania. So what we have done over the last 2 years or year and a half is talk to our partner about setting up a centre in Tanzania that would actually do the refurbishment there. By refurbishment I mean taking a machine like this, fixing it up, getting it working, checking everything's there, and then we would ship it off. That's refurbishing the machine. What we're looking at doing in Tanzania is not really so much focusing on the refurbishing, but more looking at providing training via the refurbishment, taking sort of a more educational approach, more sustainable approach. Do you want me to stop? So the whole process of actually the centre in Tanzania stems from the whole basic idea of refurbishing tools. And so machines is a core element of the activity of the tools. But it isn't the only one. When we first started doing this, it was primarily carpentry, building, mechanics, shoemaking. We didn't do any tailoring whatsoever. And obviously in order to refurbish tools, you need people to do that. We're not an organisation that has any paid staff, or we can advertise for paid posts, so we rely on volunteers to come in and help. By volunteers I mean people who come in through a programme in Europe and would help us out for a year, and they would be the core element of the organisation, without which the organisation couldn't function. But within that core element, the idea of the whole organisation when it began was to provide not only people in Africa Nicaragua even, with tools to practice their trade and earn an income, but was to challenge the whole idea of inequality. Why is the process, why is there so much poverty in the world? Why are people dying? Why is life expectancy only 40 in some countries? Why are people super rich and other people don't give a damn? And the other core part was to actually offer opportunities for people here with special needs to come in and actually do some useful work. A lot of the activities that take place here in our society now are very much service sector orientated, which basically cuts out a lot of supportive volunteers because they're quite slow, or people haven't got time anymore. That's the thing that is in our society, is time is not really considered a valuable asset, except in terms of money. It's not considered in terms of taking time out just to talk to somebody. So we offer opportunities for supportive volunteers to come in, take half a day, come in and do some useful work, learn a few skills, but primarily it's just about giving a hand, being part of something. And we have, today we had a blind volunteer in called Paul, and he's been coming in now for I think 4 months to 6 months, and he really enjoys it, and he wants to come in all the time, and he comes in and he's asking me, can I do this, can I do that? And we also have volunteers on Wednesday, Gordon, Richard, Peter, and they've been coming in anywhere from 2 to 4 years. Sometimes we have volunteers for 6 years. And we have a small workshop well, we have 15 supported volunteers in it, in Downpatrick. Here in Belfast we only have, I'd say, about 4. Given the fact that we don't have very many people here, it's very difficult to run a programme like that unless you've got people who are committed to actually following that through, and that's quite difficult really to find. So Belfast really focuses on the core process of getting tools out to countries where people can use them and developing programmes that will work. And within that, the 2 organisations, the one here in Belfast and the one in Downpatrick, basically function as one when it comes to something like that. So that's what we do. The last 2 weeks has been pretty hectic. We've had a work camp with 4 international volunteers from Spain, Germany and France, and they've been helping load a container, and I think they were quite surprised when they came because they didn't realise how much heavy work it would be. But it's finished, it's done, it's great, and the container will be leaving tomorrow, hopefully arriving in Tanzania in 2 months, in which case I will have to go out with Ivan, who was loading the container. He's a volunteer who stayed on for an extra year or extra 6 months to help develop the project, which is fantastic. You don't get very many people who actually want to do that. And we will stay in the country for 2 months, training up, helping the manager, helping set put in systems so that they themselves can take control of their own project. And I think for me that's the way it's going to have to go from now on. People need to start taking control of their own project. It's not in isolation, it's working together. But you know, this relationship of, well, we'll want this, can you get it, we'll give you it, and that's it. It doesn't function so well. I think you need to move away from that to more, let's work together. What's the best way of actually doing this type of work? And the best way ultimately for most of the projects for a sustainable way will be in the country. We will continue to send small kits of tools, carpentry, building, tailoring to isolated requests that we get, which would be impossible to set up a project just for those 1 or 2 requests. But we will be looking at maybe more regional or national work in terms of developing projects, which for a small organisation like ours is quite a lot of work.